Is Adam Gorney. Rivals National Signing Day continues with Maryland coach Mike Locksley. Mike, let's talk quarterback first. Everyone wants to talk about quarterback. You got a really good one and right down the road. How did you get him kind of locked in early and then stay locked in and then also start recruiting for your class?
Yeah, I think the big thing is when we came in here in 2019, Malik was a guy we identified very early as a guy that we thought, and I'm talking he and Bryce Jenkins, I can remember them being eighth graders coming up, and they were already had made a name for themselves in the DMV area as young football players. And it's just relationships. I mean, to be able to sign a quarterback of Malik's caliber starts with developing real authentic relationships, which is a strength of, I think, of mine, because I really do. It's important to me that these kids know that it's more than just about football with me. And I think with Malik and I, it never really felt like recruiting. It really felt as if we were, I was painting a picture of what this program was going to look like in a few years. And then he had a chance to see it come to fruition. And even going into this season, talking to him a little bit about the struggles of losing some of the players we lost a year ago, but he's never wavered. And to me, he built his high school program very similar. And we basically said, you really don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can take the things you did and implement it at Archbishop Spalding and then transfer it over here to Maryland, the way you built that program. And again, he's got some work to do. We've got a few quarterbacks in our system, but I feel really good about being able to get a player of his caliber to buy into a vision.
Another local kid that's really interesting to us is Zymear Smith. He had been committed elsewhere. Just a super dynamic, fast kid. How do you kind of see using him? Is it offense? Is it defense? Where do you kind of see him, and how did you kind of recruit him through that other commitment?
Yeah, we pegged him as an offensive player. There was talk possibly, very similar, to a couple of the guys that we've had. Octavian was a quarterback, receiver, DB. There's no doubt that Zymear has the ability to play on either side of the ball, but his ability with the ball in his hand, and he's a guy that, again, we've recruited for 2-3 years. I've seen him, his athleticism, the critical factors and traits, the speed, the short area quickness, explosiveness, all those things to me translates to, and we'll start him on the offensive side of the ball. His return ability also help. But I also would not venture to say that, I've played guys both ways. Will Likely was a two-way player for us. Tarheeb Steele did a little bit of that. And he's one of those guys, because he's here early, that we'll maybe use him for half the spring on offense, half the spring on defense, to see just where he could best help us.
Bringing in Pep Hamilton for the offensive coordinator job, his experience, how did that kind of all come together? And especially coming from the NFL, how important is that, even for recruiting? Because guys want to, that is the next level for them.
Yeah, Pep and our relationship goes back to, I want to say, 1997, 98, when he was a young assistant at Howard University. I was the young recruiting coordinator at that time. Had coached against him as a player, coached at Towson when he was finishing up his career at Howard. And so because of that, he would work our camps under Coach Friedgen, and I was the camp director. And Pep and I really share a lot of the same philosophical thoughts when it comes to quarterback play, offensive systems. He's been more of what I call the Battle of Gettysburg run game guy, but as you see, he's been able to do a lot with the quarterbacks that he's had a chance to coach. And he's coached young ones, much like I have, having been a part of, Jalen Hurts as a true freshman there at Bama, Tua Tagovailoa. We've played young Juice Williams at Illinois. So if you put both of us together, and the fact that we've got veteran quarterbacks like Justin Martin, and we've got a couple of young guys that redshirted a year ago, Christian Martin and Champ Long has really continued to develop. I feel really good about that room, but there's no doubt bringing Pep in, his pedigree of developing quarterbacks, it takes pressure off of me. A year ago, I kind of took over the play calling there mid-season, and as a head coach, it's not something that, I wanted to do, but I can and will. And so to have a guy that has called plays at the highest level, has developed NFL, MVPs. And really, if you look at his resume, I mean, if you were to just put his resume out on the internet without a picture, he'd be a guy that most people would have hired as a head coach by now when you look at the type of resume he has. So excited about adding his experience, but even more so, a guy that really shares philosophically the way you develop an offense, a system, and develop players.
For so long, and you know this better than anybody, Maryland was sort of a feeding ground for other schools to come in and swoop in and take players. And last two classes, 25 players from the state of Maryland. How much of a focus does that have to be? And have you made that everybody recruits their home state, but especially you kind of coming in there and making sure that guys stay home?
Yeah, really important for this program. I mean, our lifeline is being able to not have to travel very far. And when you look at the things that Maryland has to offer, and one of the selling points for us is it's like any other business, it's location, location, location. The most powerful city in the world is 20 minutes, 30 minutes from our campus, 2 major metropolitan areas, life after football opportunities. Obviously, with this new college landscape of NIL, Fortune 500 companies located here, Under Armour's headquartered right here in our state. Again, it's really important for us to continue to show the local players that you don't have to go away to go to school. We're putting guys in the NFL. I think we had, over the last couple of years, we've had 12 guys drafted over the last 4 or 5 years. We've had 3 first-rounders out of here the last 6 drafts. And so a lot of times people say you can't be developed, you can't go to the next level. Well, we've shown that you can, and you can do it with the local players being the foundation for how we recruit. We're still recruit nationally because we're the Big Ten, and we're the only national conference with both coasts being covered, the middle of the country being covered. And so, but we'll be very local centric with how we start and build the foundation. But again, with the relationships we have and because of where we're located, we feel we should be able to recruit nationally as well. But we're going to take care of the home base first.
And the last thing is getting Zahir Mathis. It didn't seem like that was likely just even a few weeks ago, maybe I could be wrong on that read. But how did that all kind of come together? I think Malik Washington was involved in trying to get him. And what kind of player could he be for you?
Yeah, Zahir was not necessarily a late guy, man. I can remember going by Emotep a year ago, January, and for the first time seeing him. He's a guy that played his youth football down here for the Maryland Heat program, and he and Malik, as well as Jackson Hamilton, were all part of that Maryland Heat team where they shared the field together and did some really good things. I think they won the youth national championship or went to the youth national championship game together. And I can remember Malik calling me once he got down in the Under Armour game. And at one point, Malik wasn't going to play in the Under Armour game and was maybe going to play in the other one. And then when he decided to play in that game, it all kind of came to fruition because of a relationship that those two had. Malik called me and said, "Coach, man, we may have a shot at this at Zymear." And I'm like, "Let's do it." And next thing I know, it sped up, and I got up to Philly, chance to see him, and we really hit it off. And I think obviously the relationship with Malik, a lot of the players on this team having played with him with the Maryland Heat youth program here locally, he would travel down from Philadelphia to play with this group, and it all worked out in our favor. What kind of player can he be? I mean, there's no doubt he's one of those guys that has the ability to come in as a pass rusher and have an immediate impact. He's a lot more mature than what his age shows. And again, anybody that's spent any time with this kid knows he's made up of the right stuff. And he's definitely the type of player that I've had great success with.
Excellent. A nice finish for the Terrapins on signing day. Mike, thanks so much again for joining us.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate you.